Okay, so official welcome to everyone to our first virtual workshop, Live Your Life on Purpose. And this part is just a continuation of what I just posted before, which is how to thrive and rise in uncertain times. And so here we're going to go into more the practical steps of how to do that and ultimately live your life on purpose, which is helping you to rise and thrive in uncertain times. And we go through 5 steps. So just a quick reminder of the previous video, which were about the 4 priorities to own your future. And the thing I realized that the 4 key priorities from now, especially in our circumstances and in the situation, the current situation, is there's 4 things we need to really focus on. The first one is value creation, to add value to people's lives. Developing adaptability and resilience in our mindset and also physical body. Connection has been something that has started already a lot. We see a lot more connection even going online. Everybody is going online and people connect, and I find connect more and more deeply. So connection is going to be really key for the future to be able to bring our service to the world. And when you combine the value creation, the adaptability, and the connection, that's how you can create the cash flow. Because the truth is we all need some cash flow to be able to do what we want to do and have a bigger impact. And so these are the 4 key priorities that I saw, and in the previous video I gave a few ideas around that. And so what we're going to do now is go a little bit more deeper into what can we do practically to be able to fulfill on those 4 priorities. And those 4 priorities, the way to rise and thrive is we need to develop an agile mindset and a resilient mindset, which we'll cover today with clearing some of the roadblocks. We also need to have physical vitality and well-being, because that's everything starts from who we are and everything starts from us. So we need to make sure we take a good care of ourselves. And we need to develop social impact to make a difference by developing caring relationships. And that are the 3 keys to basically own the future. No matter what's going to happen in the future, we still have some power within us to be able to make the most out of it. And so surrounding all these 3 elements is the notion of service, and whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's an idea, whether it's providing some solutions, but it's being able to create some form of value to people to add to their lives. And so that is the service we can provide to the world. And so that's what I covered in the previous videos. So the idea of living your life on purpose is that your life makes sense. And that is really important because it gives you a sense of identity and who you are, and gives you a place in the world and what you can do. Because we are all here for a reason, and we are all significant because we are all unique and different, meaning that we all have a unique contribution to make to the world. Another reason that is important to have a sense of purpose is when you look at some of the medical studies, they've done a longitudinal study showing that purpose in life has an impact on the risk of death. And they've shown that having a sense of purpose lowers your risk of death by 15%. Now, this is exactly the perfect time to really grasp that, because in these uncertain times, going with the pandemic of coronavirus, the people that are going to survive, all the people that are going to survive is those that have really a sense of meaning and purpose in their life, because they'll be able to, in a way, fight the disease or and boost their immunity. So it's even more important in terms of having a sense of purpose when we are encountering challenging and uncertain times. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at the 5 steps to live your life on purpose. I'm going to cover step 1 and 2, Marcia will cover step 3, and I'll cover step 4 and 5. And so let's get into it. So why is it important to live your life on purpose? First, because you get a sense of success. It also gives you a sense of impact and meaning and fulfillment. And the greater impact you can connect in or create in people's life, the greater you can maximize your income, which was the cash flow component. And so that is the importance of living your life on purpose. So before we get started into the content, it's important to find out where you currently are right now. When you want to go somewhere, when you want to create something, it's always important to know exactly where you start from. And so there is a little assessment for you in your manual in page 8, which is just a quick reality check. Where are you right now in your life? And so what you want to score yourself is a yes or no. Now, if you're not quite sure about how to answer the question, or if it's a maybe, then it's a no because you're lacking the clarity. And so if you want, you can do it right now, or you can do it at your own time when you're going to watch the recording. But I really suggest that you do this assessment and then you total your score. Basically, you count the yeses, and that is A. And then you also want to know what is your desired score in 12 months' time, which is going to be B. And then you make the difference. B minus A is going to give you the gap that is currently existing in your life. And that gap is not something that is missing, but is a potential opportunity for you to continue to develop. And so it's really important to do that simple assessment. It's going to give you a snapshot of where you are right now and what are the opportunities for you to improve certain aspects of your life. So let's start with step 1, which is clarify your identity. And clarify your identity is the foundation. That's where we all start from. So clarify your identity is important because it's going to allow you to first feel more in control, which is really important under the current circumstances. There's so much chaos going on around, so much uncertainty. We don't know how the future is going to look like. So getting a way to transcend that external uncertainty is to create more certainty within. And so getting clarity on who you are and your identity is going to give you a sense of control, internal control. It's going to also make you have a deeper understanding of yourself and appreciate yourself even more. As a consequence, when you understand yourself better, you can also get better results because you know what works and you also know what doesn't work. And finally, it's also a way to unlock your wealth potential. Remember, I said everyone is different, everyone is unique. And so we all have a unique way of creating a wealth potential. And so the more you understand your identity, the more you'll be able to tap into that unique wealth potential. In the first video, I talk about unique value creation. This is related to that. Your wealth potential is your unique value creation. So here's another little assessment also to see how well do you know yourself right now, currently. And that is on the page 10 of the manual. So here what you want to do in this short assessment, you want to score yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 meaning I got no clue, I have no idea, I don't know. And 10 meaning I'm crystal clear on that. I have absolute certainty that this is where you are. And you just want to give yourself a total score of 40. Now remember, this is not a competition. Like you don't have to be better than anyone. It's just for you to have just a self-reality check. Just to start with, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Okay, there's room for improvement. Or I'm already pretty good on this component of my identity. So then we'll have a look. Is there any other way that you can improve other aspect of the 5 different steps? And so I recommend you take the time to do this little assessment. Now, clarify your identity. I like to use the metaphor of the iceberg. And so if you consider yourself as an iceberg, there's 2 parts. There's a part that is visible, that is above the surface of the water. And there's a part that is underneath the water, that is invisible. The part that we see and that most people see in the world around us are our behavior, actions, and result, or lack of result. But this is the visible part. However, there's something much deeper underneath that is driving all these behaviors, action, and result. And I'm going to mention 2 main components. And those are mostly unconscious, they're not visible. So the component is called what we call values. Your personal values. These are just underneath the water and just at the surface level, because some of it can be observed, but mostly we are unconscious of what they are. And then deep down, underneath in the depth of the icebergs, we have what we call our core drivers. And our core drivers are unconscious motifs that we have that dictate everything we do. So our core drivers dictate our values dictate our behavior, actions, and the result we get in life. And so that is a simplified version of, if you look at who you are and how you function, you can keep that idea of the metaphor of the iceberg. Core drivers and then values. Now, there's a lot of different ideas around values and how people can determine values, and they're not right or wrong, they're just different ways of expressing what people think values are. The way I like to look at values is really from the point of view of human behavior and what your life demonstrates. So your values is what is most important and meaningful to you and to you only. So for example, values are not integrity, honesty, friendship. They're not necessary values. They're society or societal values, but they're not necessarily your values. Your values are much more specific to you. And this is really what's most important and meaningful to you. And that's what you do every day. They're unique to you. So no two people have exactly the same hierarchy of values, because our values are organized into a hierarchy from the most important and the highest to the lowest important. And so people might have similar values, but the organization of those values within the hierarchy of values is different. What is really important about values and your personal values is that your life demonstrates your values. So the important point of that is that no matter what you say, if your life doesn't show it, what you say is not the reality. Your life needs to demonstrate that. And if your life demonstrates a certain thing, you can be sure that this is a value. And your values is also a foundation for your career, business, and life in general. So depending on what values you have will dictate how your career or business will be shaped. What would be the form of expression of your business. So value is really the foundation of who you are and your identity and how you express that identity in the world. Now, determining values is quite an involved process, and there's a few steps. And usually when I determine values one-on-one with clients, it takes about 90 minutes to go really into depth. However, today, because we don't have time and we're not doing one-on-one, I'm going to share you a very simple way of getting some clarity around your values. And imagine your values is the most effective and efficient way you manage your resources. And you manage your most important resources. And the most important resources are time, energy, space, and money. And so whatever you do daily with your time, your energy, your space, and the money is going to give you some clues of what your values are. The way you manage your life and your priorities in life is a reflection of the nature of your values. And so if you look at your behavior, it's a reflection of your values. So in the manual, I have a little exercise for you, and I suggest you do that in, not right now, but when you have the time in the next few weeks. And this, if I want to narrow it down, because as I say, value is quite complex to determine, there's several parameters. However, the most important resources we all have is time. Because once time is gone, it's not coming back. And so what you can do is do a time tracking across a whole week and have a look during each day, how do you use or spend your time. One thing I want to mention also is that values changes, values are dynamic. And so what we are looking at what your life demonstrates right now. We're interested in your current value right now. One thing I can predict is what's happening in the world right now. There's going to be massive value shifts for certain people. Not everyone, but some people will have massive value shifts. People that will lose their job will have a massive value shift. They have to reinvent themselves. People that might lose a lot of money on the stock market will have a massive value shift. They'll have to reinvent something and different ways of making money. And so when there's a great time of uncertainty and chaos and change and volatility, that's usually when there is a massive value shift in people. Not everyone, but a lot of people will have a value shift, just because they have to reinvent themselves in this situation. So here's an exercise for you to do. So how do you use your time? Have a look at a whole week and then track in blocks of time how you use your time. What Gandhi says is that your actions speak so loudly that I can't hear what you're saying. And that's what values is. If you tell me this is my value, but your life doesn't show it, this is not really your value. If you say my highest value is building wealth, but then if I look at your bank account and you have no money, you don't have investment, you have no strategy, you have no structure around your finance, building wealth is not a value, is more like a void, is more something you're striving towards, but you haven't really made it a value yet because you don't have it. Your life doesn't demonstrate it. So this is just a simple example. So always pay more attention to the actions and the behavior because they are the real reflection of your value, not necessarily what you think it is or what you think it should be. And here is also another activity that you can do is time tracking. And you can do that for 2 or 3 weeks. In the exercise, the previous exercise, say 1 week, but you can do it for 2 or 3 weeks. And there's a free app you can use on your phone, which is called clockify.me. And this app allows you to categorize the time in different time blocks and put some labels. So you can become even more precise on how you use your time. So I use this app for about 2 or 3 months to do my time tracking, to really get really clear on more distinctions on how I use my time and what I do with my time. So feel free, for those that like technology, feel free to download the app. And you can really get a lot of data from doing that and a lot more granularity into how you use your time. So here's the interesting thing with values is that we have things that we want to do, we'd like to do. We have things that we should do. But besides that, we have the things that we really do when we think we're procrastinating. And the things we really do when we think we're procrastinating are just the things that are really important and valuable to us. So when you judge yourself that you're procrastinating, what you're currently doing at the moment you procrastinate is what is your highest values. The things you think you would like to do, if you're not doing them, they're not really high on your value. They might be a part of your values hierarchy, but they might not necessarily be on top of it. And the thing that you think you should do and you're not doing is because they're not high in your values. And so understanding values is really important because it allows you to disassociate the behavior and cut out the judgment. Values is just, as I said, the most effective and efficient ways of how we use and manage our resources. So values are strategies. And so if you dissociate the emotion from the strategy, it becomes really clear on, okay, this is something I need to do, but I'm not doing it. Well, it's not really important to me. So either I can do something to make it more important and link into my values, or I can just say and get real and say, well, this is definitely something that is not important, so I might just let it go or delegate to someone else that can do it. So understanding values allows you to refine your actions, your decisions, but also sometimes leverage other people's talents because there's activities that are important that we need to do. And if it's not in our highest value and they still need to be done, there's ways for us to either automate them or delegate to other people. So don't beat yourself up when you think that you're procrastinating. This is just a reality check telling you that what you think is important is actually not that important. And so be okay with it. If still need be done, find a different way to get it done. But don't beat yourself about it. Another important thing of why understanding values is important is to understand the values conflict. Because we have a series of values and they're organized in a hierarchy of priority, meaning the most important, the highest, to the lowest importance. So sometimes we have values that are conflicting. A classical values conflict for people is business and family. And when you have a values conflict, most of the time it's unconscious. We don't even know it is, unless you're very aware of your values. But what that creates, that creates a block for people to be able to do something they need to do. For example, if you have a business owner or an entrepreneur, that is trying to grow his business, but he has a conflict with family because family is really important, the more he's going to perceive that the more time he spends in his business, the less time he spends with his family. Therefore, he's going to create an internal conflict. I don't want to grow my business because it takes me away from my family. And so people end up in stuck state. So unless you resolve the values conflict and link the two values together, people just idle between the two different ones and not getting the result they're hoping for. And so it's important to understand your values so you can identify whether there's any possible values conflict first. And then if you identify a values conflict, then there's ways to resolve that values conflict. It doesn't have to stay a conflict. A conflict means two things are seen separated and dissociated. And the way to resolve a conflict is to link them back together to see how one supports the other. So that's the way to resolve values conflict. So what it means is clarifying your identity is really about developing greater level of self-awareness. And the key point about clarifying your identity and your values is really to know that your behavior speaks more loudly than your thinking. It's easy to think wishfully. It's easy to go trapped into a fantasy. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. But if your behavior doesn't demonstrate any progress towards that goal, towards that outcome, towards that idea or vision, then it's just wishful thinking. Only behavior demonstrates reality. And so that's the key message for you to take from that is your values are demonstrated in your life. Whether you like your values or not, that's something else. That's a different question. But what your life demonstrates is really who you are, is really part of your identity. And the second thing also is that if you're moving towards something and you're feeling that you're struggling, you're not really moving forward, you're not getting the result you hope you're getting, this can indicate two things. First, your goal or the outcome you're moving towards is not really aligned with your values. And so in that case, it's more like a wishful thinking. Or there is an internal values conflict that is getting you stuck and idling between the two. Internal values conflict creates a lot of expenditure of energy, but not much result and not much progress. So once you understand and know your values, you are able to pinpoint whether your goal is aligned with your values to maximize the chance of attaining that goal, or also pinpoint whether there's any possible internal values conflict that is keeping you idling and burning out a lot of energy but not going anywhere. And so ultimately, clarifying your identity is all about getting to know yourself on a much deeper level. Getting to know yourself, how you function, what makes you tick, and how you can best make decisions and create the actions that is going to be the most effective and efficient for you to manage your limited resources that you have.